using AI to ask you what the problems are is better than asking for the solution.
Michelangelo's who we give credit for the Sistine Chapel, not whoever commissioned that.
Take away the tool, what are you without it?
Yeah.
And if you are nothing without the tool, then you really shouldn't have the tool in the first place. What do you think the ethics of it, like that person being able to call themselves an author?
I think it's great because then I can finish my book tomorrow.
Welcome everyone to the Tutor Round podcast. My name is Richard.
My name is Austin.
Today we're doing a little bit something different that we normally don't do. We're doing reaction content. Well, before I click off, it's reaction to Brandon Sanderson content, slightly more highbrow than maybe what you would expect.
I was going to leave the chair, but now it's Brandon Sanderson content.
It's Brandon Sanderson reaction.
It's a video of his that went viral. He had a podcast recently and then this short that he made about AI starting to encroach in the not just artist space, but writing space. As we've seen AI become more advanced and get better, Sanderson's thoughts on the ethics of what it means to be an AI artist or what it means to use AI in writing. So today we're kind of talking differently, not just, hey, is it right? Is it wrong? Sorry, not just is it right, is it wrong? We're not just saying, will AI take over? Will AI be used in writing?
We have had that conversation on will AI get there? Will it actually replace sections of artists in the sense of like both visual and written art?
Yep.
This conversation is assuming that it does. Assuming that it will get there. What is the ethics of it? Should artists be using AI? What does it mean to be an artist? Are you even an artist if you use AI prompts to actually create your work?
Yeah, what will the world actually look like? Maybe our more predictive stuff we could do is we read a lot of sci-fi of what will actually look like if AI is as good as the best authors, not even just an author. What would that actually look like?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm curious about too, because again, we read so much sci-fi, and this is a sci-fi concept happening in real time. Mm-hmm. We'll see how science fiction it is. Maybe it'll become nonfiction. We'll see. Do you want to start the clip from, this is a 2-minute clip from Sanderson?
Yep, this is the clip from the dreaded TikTok.
Oh, the dreaded. It's also probably on YouTube Shorts if you wanted to pull up better
I looked for
platform
YouTube Shorts. It's not on there.
Wow.
So
do they not know you can have longer than 1-minute clips now on YouTube Shorts? We got to tell the Dragonsteel team.
We do have to tell them.
Yeah, we'll let them know. Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
let me actually. There we go.
Okay.
I have a bit of a bone to pick with AI. People use AI for all sorts of interesting things. My stance is, as I've said before, a little against it in creative endeavors. I'm concerned. One of the things I'm concerned about is a lot of people are saying, well, I'm an AI artist.
How do you think Brandon Sanderson would take this? Does an AI artist even exist?
Does an AI artist even exist? Well, I've seen the video before.
Oh, okay.
So I know how the video will end. However, I will say his start to this video is saying, I have a bone to pick with AI. And him talking about AI art. In the podcast, which we're not going to play the whole podcast length, he has an entire podcast where he talks about how much he's against AI using his works and using other authors' works at pooling authors' data. So his stuff from Way of Kings, Mistborn, whatever, and using that to learn how to write. So him saying he has a bone to pick with AI, he's going more the artist direction with this, but we'll also talk about because Sanderson goes in about how he thinks it's unethical and awful that AI is taking his books or anyone's books and using that to learn to try to get better or as good as a human. He thinks that's wrong too. So he's against it in a lot of ways. Let's finish this video and then we'll go from there.
Because I'm putting in the prompts. Again, intelligent people can disagree, but let me show you something. This right here is the beautiful art by Ben McSweeney of the Axe Hounds.
For audio only, he's pulling up an image from, I think, Words of Radiance, or did he have Way of Kings?
Way of Kings.
He's pulling up an image from Way of Kings, and there's little pictures you can see, well, big pictures you could see in the book, and that's what he's showing.
From the Stormlight Archive, right? Now, I came up with the idea for this artwork. I went to Ben, and I said, I want it to look like this, X, Y, and Z. And he came back with some sketches, and I said, change this, be better at this. And I pushed him pretty hard. It's one of the pieces that I specifically art directed myself. And at the end, we have that gorgeous piece from Shalon's sketchbook, these creatures from Rochard, the creatures I've come up with, but I pushed and Ben drew. I would never put my name as the artist on this piece of art. This is Ben McSweeney's art. He did the art. Now, I gave him the prompt, yes. I asked for it, I commissioned it, I pushed him on it, but it's his art. And this is kind of my worry with some of the AI things with writing and with art that's happening. Being an art director does not give you ownership over the piece. And in this case, no matter how good your prompt, no matter how much you refine, you aren't making the art. You are acting as an art director, perhaps. You are commissioning a piece of art, but the machine is making the art. And so that is why I have a bone to pick with that definition. I don't think you're an artist. I think you might be an art director to a machine.
So his stance is you are not an artist, you are an art director, you are a commissioner. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, in general, I completely agree with him. I have seen the take online of like someone calling themselves an AI artist, and yeah, it always has kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I thought for the most part, a lot of it was satirical of an AI artist. Like, no, just because you put some prompts into ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever doesn't make you an artist. You didn't actually do it. And I really appreciate his analogy, because I didn't really think of it that way of, yeah, no, you're the art director at best, art commissioner maybe at worst, of someone that commissions art can't call themselves the artist. But it, like Sanderson saying, if you actually go through the work of revision and trying to get the artist to capture your vision in your own head, then you're an art director, sure. But that's the best case scenario. In no way can you call yourself the artist.
Michelangelo's who we give credit for the Sistine Chapel, not whoever commissioned that. Good. It's good that we remember Michelangelo. He was the artist that created it. In movies, there's the director of a film. That's an art of its own, of directing, getting the right shots, the camera angles. How would you compare that analogy to someone who's literally directing a movie? A bit of a different analogy, but is there, I guess, more of a skill in directing that there is different from if you're directing a commission, or you're directing or commissioning something that you want to look a certain way? Because directors in a film studio are going, hey, actor, come here, do this, and they should get the credit for acting and doing that sort.
Yeah.
But in the way of, is there an analogy or a way to compare art director versus film director is what I'm getting at.
I guess you could compare them to some degree, but the
a good Richard, but no, a good Richard. However, I haven't heard that in a while.
However,
yeah,
no, because I think it's an apt comparison if you want to give AI artists, heavy quotation marks, like the benefit of the doubt of comparing them to a movie director. But a movie director typically there's a lot more work and nuance into it rather than just typing a prompt. A movie director can't just say, hey, make it this way, and then it's done. There's a lot more details that a director has to do that goes into it.
What would you say?
Maybe if AI got far more granular on its construction, maybe it would be more applicable to say, like, it does take a good amount of skill in directing the machine to look a certain way.
What is that? Google came out with something recently where you could type in prompts to create moving pictures in a movie. What was that called? Google something.
Google Vo? VUE.
I'll double check that just to make sure that we have have the right thing. But okay, I'll look that up and make sure that we have that. But what I'm talking about?
I do.
People that don't know what we're talking about, what is that? Yeah.
So basically, Google has come out with a specific branch of their AI video generation software that adds both. The main feature is audio prompts. So you can put in a prompt for a piece of video, and it will create video with people and actually talking. The people can talk and say whatever you want to say. And yes, right now, most of them, you can still kind of tell it's AI, but some of them are damn close, and I wouldn't have, if it passed in a commercial, I couldn't tell the difference, really. in a passing glance. And the main thing that this will probably replace, if anything, it would be advertisement filming. Because why, for the example of pharmaceutical companies filming an ad, with the B-roll basically just being, old graying couple on a park bench, sipping a glass of wine, and with someone talking over of like, consume Prilosec. It's like, could AI replace that? Probably. Like, why would the pharmaceutical company spend, X millions of dollars to get out a set and do all this and hire these people when they can spend, say they spend $15,000 on the AI generated video? It'll be just as good. And so that specific segment seems like it could replace today. But then take that further.
It's called Google Flow, by the way.
Flow, thank you.
Flow, there's also vids, there's other things too. VO is another one you were talking about. Yeah, that is where it comes down to. One more analogy to give. Just we're talking exactly about Sanderson's using the analogy of you tell Michelangelo to build Sistine Chapel, do this, or you tell art direct, hey, I kind of want this as my cover. Do this all the time as authors. What about as an inventor, someone like Steve Jobs, who goes, I have this idea, I want my finger to swipe, and I want all the things. I just want it in this little phone, and I don't want a keyboard, and do it. Get on it.
Well, that's the whole, that's the controversy about him, is a lot of people nowadays don't, or even the movie on Steve Jobs is kind of pushing back on the idea that Steve Jobs was this brilliant inventor of Apple. He is a brilliant marketer. He had a vision of what he wanted things to look like and perform, and he treated technology like an art rather than a machine. But ultimately, there were stories about the first iPod, and the engineers came back and showed Steve Jobs like, "Hey, look at this thing. We put like 500 songs on an iPod. Isn't that great?
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. We did our best. Look at this.
We changed society."
And he just went, 10,000 songs and make it half as thin. And they're like, but that does, how? We can't do that. This is our best work. He's like, do it again. And then, he gets to come out on stage and like, look at what I did. And it's like,
but any of you who's saying this isn't an accurate retelling, screw you. I support that. That's exactly how it happened, Rich. He said, I want more.
What more?
Make it smaller.
Do it better.
Now.
Half as big, double the size. Like,
and then we wanted phones bigger. So it was wherever the market went. Whereas Mark Zuckerberg, you would call him more of the, not just an idea guy, but the inventor. If he was, there's also, you can look at
there's the whole movie of like him stealing different, but generally his idea. He did code. He did have an idea of Facebook and aspects of it, whether he stole it, whatever. Point being, he did have far more hands-on process than you would say Steve Jobs did in the creation of the iPod.
So it seems we have this value that we attach when we think art. So again, he is saying art director. As much as we like to say art director, we don't like to give the credit to the art director, all the attributes and accolades to someone that said, hey, I want something to look like this, or this is how I want it to turn out. The team leader, in a way, where we could put on a pedestal these people like Steve Jobs and quote unquote inventors or people that are heads of companies because they marketed it and they find the right people to delegate and put together the invention. How much credit do we give to them? Let's loop back to that because I want to get to this first. Of as much credit as we give to the actual art creation, does it come down to skill? We appreciate, we value skill, and seeing the artwork that we're looking at Sanderson, do we intuitively think, I could say, hey, I kind of want the iPhone bigger or smaller. I could say, I want this to look this way and this way. What we appreciate is, the artistry of something that takes talent, takes skill to make, and that makes it more artistic. And in my head, when I'm thinking that, what took more skill? Sanderson took skill to write the book. However, the artist that he commissioned, that was the person who deserves the credit for the artwork, as he said. So the feature?
I think you're right. There's a degree of, so I think in art we value two things: is on one hand, it's skill. Is you think to yourself, could I replicate that? That's like often a very first question you have in your head of why you find something impressive is going, oh, well, I couldn't do that. And, you know, the more people that are able to say that of like, you know, great artists look at a piece of artwork and go, I can't do that. It just elevates. It's one of the features of an art. And then it's also, I think, the intangible soul of like, oh, there's a piece of that artist's soul in there.
The Emperor's?
The Emperor's soul. But an art director, you could say that maybe the art director is trying to put their soul into someone else's artwork. And the artist is, you know, provides the skill and the art director provides the soul. Maybe. I don't know if that's completely true, but I can maybe see that argument.
A lot of times when I think a movie could go wrong is you feel that the director, the person who's making the art, putting it together, has producers or someone above them that's impacting the art, saying they need this to do this, or they're affecting the art in a way. Because you've seen studios come in and ruin films because the studio needs to hit certain benchmarks or whatever they want to do to change the actual artistry, which I do want to go back to that of the director analogy, just because he's saying art director. Film director, is there a certain skill that we appreciate? And also, what is the difference there? Because that's where my mind went when he said art director. When I think film director, I do think they deserve a lot of credit.
Well, I think film director has both skill and soul that they can put into a movie. The argument for this is there is a Tarantino both style of film that other people could maybe replicate the film techniques that Tarantino uses, but ultimately doesn't have the soul of a Tarantino movie. There are Tarantino's ideas about the movie. You can see where that goes wrong. To me, the first thing I thought about is one of my favorite directors, Sam Raimi. I love Sam Raimi's films. I think he's a really fun, awesome director that really creative film shots, all this stuff. I like him a lot. But then you can take a movie like the Marvel one, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, which is a Sam Raimi film. But how I see that movie is that is a movie with Sam Raimi's skill without Sam Raimi's soul. Of someone else was basically putting their soul into Sam Raimi's film, and to why it turned out like shit. It's a terrible movie.
The thing is, the directing and the look was cool.
It was cool.
Of Sam Raimi.
But so
that's the storytelling and that soul seems to be gone. Yeah.
Where AI art, I don't even think has the particular, at the very least at this level, there is no skill behind it. Maybe there's the soul, or like the direction part of that, but there is a degree of skill that goes into movie directing that AI art generation doesn't.
Sanderson gets into with his books. This is not a spoiler for his books, but novelty, how important novelty is when it comes to art or ideas. So if you're the first, if you're the first to come up with something or the first iteration, that is typically appreciated because, people haven't seen that before. And that's why you see so many different revolutions and renaissances in different artworks.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question. We're talking about mainly the visual art of this.
Yeah.
But we've had the conversation of will AI get to the point of replacing authors?
Yep.
Let's assume for this conversation, it does. It gets to a point where it can handle 80% of the work, and then the author at that point is mostly an editor and will generate, it doesn't create on the first go, but with pushing and prodding, you can create a book with mostly AI. Let's say it gets there. What do you think the ethics of it, like that person being able to call themselves an author?
I think it's great because then I can finish my book tomorrow. Just give it to me. No, I think the ethics of, again, what percentage is that too? Because using AI to say, hey, write this essay for me in school is something that Philip Chase, go check out his booktube channel, awesome guy. And he talks about that with a fellow teacher as they're explaining how they are reducing and removing computers from their classrooms just because, and going back to writing with pen and paper, because AI is so advanced now and they're losing the skill of how to formulate arguments or debates, or how to critically think is the main point. Because when you're writing an essay, I'm sorry, I'm getting to a long answer, but if you're just writing an essay in school, that's writing in and of itself. And the important thing about that is learning the skill of how to critically think as a human being. That's important for obvious reasons. And so my ethical thoughts on that is this clip that you just pulled up, perfect, with Sanderson on the podcast talks about how humans learn and why AIs, this is where the scary thing comes in when it comes into writing, and we can get into our opinions. Want to play this segment to lead up? Yeah.
They're like, well, this is how humans learn. So why is it bad for the machine to do it?
Well, for one, I mean, the biggest thing is, it just straight up isn't a human. And
we have certain protections for humans we don't for other things.
Yeah. But when you look at it, the scale of it is so far beyond human that it's hard to say that's still a fair argument. That somebody can learn this stuff and they can imitate your style and they can do all that. It's like, yeah, but they can't do it billions of times,
right?
Almost instantly, right? They can't then let anyone do that.
Well, and human beings have this artistic inclination that maybe it's again my woo-woo, but if you learn on some people, the more you write or the more that you do art, it's going to become yours. You won't be able to prevent it because your own artistic inclinations will drive you to explore what you can do with this art.
I think that's a really great point. So this isn't exactly what we were talking about a couple seconds ago.
Yeah.
But he's so right. How many times have we read an author of their first book? We go, okay, we see their influence heavily. But a couple books in, it becomes their own. Clearly their own style starts to shape. You could see where they came from, but it becomes their own. And you never see that really with AI. You don't see it because there
human
is
brain's
no
a supercomputer in our own way. Yes, we take our influences and extrapolate there, then try to create our own thing by combining a bunch of different ideas from before. And you do see that all the time. And then slowly you create your own voice through your influences.
And even if AI can maybe get to that point where it does seem to have its own voice, it is more of a problem that you now can allow other people to now, a drop of a hat, being able to change it. But I did want to get back to what you were talking about with how humans learn, the dangers of all this is good rule of thumb for human beings in general in your life. If you don't use it, you lose it in every aspect of life. If you don't work out, you're going to lose your muscles. If you don't practice your foreign language that you learned, you will lose it. That just kind of happens. I have a problem with, so if you don't learn how to write, if you learned how to write and you don't write very often, you're going to lose it. This happens with everything, and there's a real problem with technology on what we're choosing to lose for the sake of convenience. This even applies to coding, of the fact that we write mostly in these highly sophisticated compilers, that ultimately we lose track of what the code is actually based on. And there's a real fear that we're going to get to a point where actual coders don't know how the code fundamentally works and couldn't actually repair old code, it doesn't understand the fundamental reasons behind it. We're constantly using technology to basically skip the first steps of learning.
It's why you'll hear from math teachers everywhere of why they want you to show your work.
Yeah.
Or I don't know how much has
reason.
it changed since we were in elementary school or high school. Probably already a ton has changed. Yes, you can have a calculator. Yes, you can plug all this thing in. God, why am I defending math teachers? Okay.
Thing is, but we both have that same why do I have to show my work? I can show the correct answer.
I could just type it in.
I understand now.
We understand because it's learning how to use formulas and how to not just a simple addition and subtraction, but later when letters get involved, all that confusing algebra stuff.
Yeah.
That is useful to learn And how much will you apply it in the real world? That's the pushback. As a kid, I would always say that too, of when am I going to use this? When am I going to use the Pythagorean theorem? Actually, several times it comes up.
Yeah, it surprisingly does.
That's actually a useful one when you're trying to make stuff. But that's a useful one. There's some that just in one ear out the other, but point to math teachers and English teachers. Why is this becoming a big thing in the artistic community and authors and both artists in the writership sense and cover art artist sense? Throughout history, obviously technology disrupts and takes away old jobs. We don't see a lot of blacksmithers anymore. We don't see a lot of other technologies that aren't coming to mind right now.
We don't see a lot of horse and buggies.
Yeah,
we don't see a lot. There used to be a thriving. You could have a thriving job as a gaslighter.
No
Not
longer.
the manipulative relationship type, but actually lighting the gas lamps.
To the horse and carriage, it was probably a very useful skill for the majority of people who know how to ride a horse.
Yep.
Hundreds of years ago, even less than that. Still very cool to learn how to use a horse, but how useful is it in the modern day? That's a skill that is cool, but not essential to life to learn how to ride a horse right now. But point being, there's a lot of these skills that have come and gone and are useful in time, and technology replaces it entirely. Sometimes when you get to more modern technology, is it replacing a fundamental thing you need as a human? So critical thinking is the problem with writing. If AI takes that, what else? What are we as humans other than we critically think? We have empathy, all these things. The soul. What is our soul? How also societally speaking, to function and have other educated people, you'd hope that when it comes to writing and thinking, that is one aspect where teachers and authors like Brandon Sanderson are starting to really show, hey, this is dangerous. How much of a fear are you having as well? Do you feel that dire about this becoming a big problem as others are?
Oh yeah, great fear. That is a central fear of mine.
Very scared over here. Yeah.
No,
is it top 3 fears? Where does it land and how scared you are?
Societal fears? Yeah, that's in top 3.
Others have to do with personal life and things that society can't cure for you.
Society can't fix
There's no hope for you there. But societal fears, that's up there.
That's definitely up there. There's something to be said of technology replacing many physical skills, and I think some of them we shouldn't replace. There are some things like it is good for people to actually learn these physical skills. We get far more dicier territory of technology replacing cognitive skills. Maybe in some like it is good to be able to use these tools once you've already learned it, while also still brushing up on it. So I think even like mathematicians, of course, use calculators. Duh. Of course they do. But talking to a few of them, they at least told me that they will occasionally go back to like do some basic arithmetic without a calculator, just to kind of brush up on it, just to make sure that they still can do it and it's still in their head that they won't lose that and they're not dependent on the calculator. The technology should be able to make you faster, make you more efficient, but shouldn't replace your fundamental understanding and ability.
It's the 50-year-old dad hitting on a grandmother just to see if he still got it. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
At the cruise ship, just being like, "Hey, ma'am, how you doing?"
Exactly.
Just be like, "Hey, you still got that charm."
Do you still have like? Are the gears still lubricated? It's like, okay.
My wife's got to watch out. All right, I still got it.
I still got the skills. I can still perform.
That's a weirdly
That's a weird analogy, bud.
It's a weirdly good analogy in a way because you're lubricating that skill a little bit.
The thing is, there's a lot of social skills you do actually want to sometimes go like, can I do that? I had that moment with our friend Connor.
Which Connor? Our Connor.
Our Connor.
Okay.
Where I'm brushing up on the kind of a social skill of like how many times you go to a party and like, you basically know nobody and no one there has similar interests to you, and yet you got to be social. You got to like talk around. That's a skill. That's a social skill to be able to talk about things you don't know with people you don't know. And so I had a moment with Connor of going, I'm going to practice my social skills and talk. And we talked about the football for an entire hour. I know nothing about football.
American football.
And I know nothing about football, and I had a solid conversation with him for a whole hour.
Bravo.
And that is all about asking questions and all these different things, and not just asking questions, but making statements based on the questions to see his opinion. I afterward, it was almost a mental workout. After I'm going to, that was I did a good job. That took some mental skill for me.
You think this podcast is more prep, but this is stuff we want to talk about. You're talking about, hey, can I talk about football, something I have no interest in for an hour? And you're just testing that. Can I talk about something I'm uninterested in for that long?
Yes.
And that was your test with Connor.
Oh, yeah. And thing is, I've had moments recently of like I was in social settings and going, I was very social, talking with people I don't know about things I don't care about. And I'm going like, yay, good on me. I don't do that as often as I need to, and it was good practice.
Good job, Rich.
Yeah.
Do you want to finish the clip from Sanderson?
Sure.
Not the whole clip. You get what I mean. The section.
Well, okay. This section is basically on what's the difference between humans and AI learning in the same way of humans learn with, picking up other examples of art and then extrapolating on it. How is that any different from AI? It's mainly scale and what that tool will then allow other humans to do with it. I think that's just the main difference with it.
And the computer can't do that. And that's a very big difference. It's a very big difference for me to read Wheel of Time and start writing my first book as a Wheel of Time knockoff. That by the end is very much not a Wheel of Time knockoff. That is an amalgamation of all of my influences, but with me saying, here is the art I want to make, and going and making it. And it's very different than here's a machine we're feeding in. Oh, it's going to take it an hour. Okay, it's now can do a Steve Argyle, and it can do it perfectly, and it'll give you 3,000 variations on it. Just give us a second.
Yeah. There's
that again, we've seen that in book ones, and a lot of books I've complained about being, oh, look how cliche this is. It's because you've read something and it just feels like a lesser form of the thing you actually like.
Yeah.
So an example of this, all kudos in the world, great guy Ryan Cahill, but Of Blood and Fire just seems, that book one seems like it was heavily influenced and using copy and paste. He did not plagiarize. He's using his influence, but it reads very much like other series you've read, Wheel of Time being one, Aragon being another. So we've read books like that where an author's first book, especially first books, this happens a lot, feels as though it can read cliche. And that's why we're having this conversation of not can AI do it? Because right now, can AI write a full book? No, it cannot. No. Also, can it write full essays? Actually, it's good at essays. It's really good at that stuff. Can it do a full narrative and arc? Narrative arc, not yet. Again, why Sanderson's starting to get.
Thing is, there's a lot of books without narrative arcs.
Morning Glory,
Dairy Farm, yes.
Milking Farm.
Yeah. God.
Who knows? We haven't read it. Maybe it has a compelling narrative.
I choose to live in the reality in my own head of I know exactly what the book's about. I don't have to read it. I don't have to know anything about it. And anyone correct me like I read it. It's actually that. Sit your butt down. No. V, I see you out there. V, no.
V's catching strays nonstop.
I know what the book's about and you've read it. Understand I know more than you, V, right now.
that seems. What do you think about that being the case of humans in our own way? I guess when you read a book and you feel the clichéness, not just it's using the tropes, but you feel that it is heavily inspired to the point of just uninspiration of this feels like a copy.
Oh, sure. I mean,
do you have anything?
I think it's just part of the artistic process.
Yeah.
How much of when in any artistic endeavor, part of what your work is copying others to learn and then eventually develop on your own. That happens in mute. Like, what do you do when you first learn an instrument? You play other people's music.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol.
Like, that is what you learn. You learn your scale. Like, first you learn your scales, your basic stuff, and then you actually learn songs written by other people to hopefully one day write your own, or depending on whatever your artistic journey is. But the same thing with art. Art class. What do? Hey, I'm going to study this type of impressionist art, and I am going to make an art like it. Many steps in artistic process is tracing, learning how to draw lines. Like, copying is an essential part of learning, but at least for humans, it's the effort is localized to one individual. Like, if you're putting in the effort to copy it, then you can make a copy. You can make a poor imitation. But if AI learns how to copy, then everyone can can now produce a cheap copy. I think that's the biggest difference. If you want to put in the effort to be able to copy someone, fine, that's one. AI puts in the effort, now it's billions.
And it takes away that skill part we're talking about where, hey, if you're creating a book, and one of Brandon Sanderson's book, The Emperor's Soul, talks about all of this, about what makes a soul. The premise of the book, chapter 1, without revealing the end at all, the premise of the book is this emperor was assassinated, or nearly assassinated. Comatose. Was it comatose or assassinated?
Effectively,
Magic kept alive.
He is brain dead.
Brain dead.
Body's alive, but has no mind anymore.
And the society needs to cover up that the emperor is actually alive and just needs to rest. And they're saying, hey, the emperor needs to recover from the injury, which the emperor's actually brain dead. The main character has to reforge the emperor's soul, who's brain dead, has to create using the magic system and make sure she makes an accurate copy of the emperor, so that when the emperor that she forges is exactly like the emperor everybody remembers. And it's about what makes a soul, what makes a person. How do you
Is a person's soul
somebody?
their experiences? Is it their hopes and dreams? Is it their relationships? What is it about him? And so, again, best work of fiction that Brandon Sanderson's ever written, in my opinion, is The Emperor's Soul. I love it. It's one of my favorite things ever.
It's
Go
top tier.
read it.
We should reread. Talk
Probably
about
should.
it. Yeah. That it's very apt right now too, to read that book.
Yeah.
So reason bringing that up is Sanderson, as he's talking about this and what makes a soul, I don't think we're going to play the clip because it's somewhere else in the podcast, but do you remember in this, we'll link this down below for anybody who wants to check the full podcast as well. He talks about how which portion was it? He talks about how when it comes to writing something and how it's just taking a bunch of copies and reproducing it, when it's AI, and he's talking about that, there seems to be no skill in it. However, in the book, Emperor's Soul, there's some sort of skill in the forgery that the main character takes on of recreating this soul. Like the artist in the book, Emperor's Soul, the artist is... I liked how the book explored the idea that making a copy of the Mona Lisa, replicating the Mona Lisa, is also hard to do.
Yeah.
That's a skillful thing to... I can't paint the Mona Lisa. God damn. So
we humans value merit, and there is merit in effort and skill. So yeah, no, copies do have something about it.
And that brings if we ever talk to Brandon Sanderson in an interview on this podcast, a question I'd ask him, because he one of his answers in this podcast, this is what I was getting at, is he believes that the AI author, the creator there of the book, he doesn't like that idea at all. And he thinks that humans, I agree, should support other humans, that something written by a human has more value. I agree. That a book written by a human being has more value inherently. Now, I'd be curious, because Sanderson also agrees with the death of the author, which is something we went after. And if you truly do kill the author, if the author's truly dead and what matters is the reader's interpretation experience, well, doesn't matter if it's an AI. So it's one of those things where I think Sanderson, I want to ask him that question so badly of, is that a contradiction in his worldview of he believes in the death of the author, but he also thinks that AI author not as valuable. It seems,
sure.
So those two things, I'd be curious what he thinks, because in my stance, I'm against the death of the author, but also sorry, I'm not going back into that rant. I'm not doing it. Don't get me going. I hate that article. But one of the things...
Come on, poke at the Frenchman.
Okay. So one of the things about... I'm not doing it. Just the death of the author in general. If the author truly should not be, I guess, the conveyor of meaning. We can get into the article. Okay, I'm summarizing. I'm going off path. Okay, I get the articles a lot more than that. Okay, but getting off the path. If the author doesn't matter in the actual experience and what you take from the book, here's where we get to the ethics of it. Does it matter to you, reader? Who cares if it's an amazing book? Like, whoa, this is one of the best things I've ever read. You don't even know who the author is. Who knows if it was AI or if it was a true human being? How does that change it? What if you don't even know? Because what if you're so moved by something, it says on the title, it's written by Terry Pratchett, your favorite author, or it's actually a Brandon Sanderson book. And come to find out later, you're going, wait, this book that blew my mind, and I said, oh, it's my favorite, 5 stars, floored me, best thing ever, Ramble review, and it comes out later that, oh, AI created it. Whole book was AI created. How does that change? Because your experience is still valid. Your experience still happened.
Yeah.
How would you react in that situation? Because we're assuming that can be a case in some future dystopian world, which hopefully doesn't come true. How would you react?
I would be deeply saddened, because you can't just dismiss that. You can't just immediately turn it off of like, oh, it's AI, meaning equally, it's now suddenly not valuable anymore. It didn't have that emotional experience with it. But I would be deeply saddened of like, I would feel that human beings have lost a bit of relevancy. I would be disappointed with it. And there's a book that kind of, it doesn't go over this exactly, but I think it touches on the idea of media novelty and what we would do in a society where novelty is basically gone. And Hyperion, the second book, The Fall of Hyperion, actually goes into this quite well. I really liked that particular aspect of it. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but imagine a future society because of how the internet effectively is connected through everyone's brain and everyone's interconnectedness, that basically you can consume all of this different types of media from all of history all at the same time, where you've basically seen everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's like, at some point, everything is the same. You've seen it's a reference to this. Like, novelty is the most valuable thing imaginable, because it basically doesn't exist. But if everything really is influenced by this and that, if we read every book in existence, we would see far more patterns than we're reading now.
Mm.
And so if we finally found something that was unique, big explosion. So I think that's the more danger with AI, of a Sanderson book or a Terry Pratchett book is special because there's only that. But if AI can write a Terry Pratchett book just as good as Terry Pratchett, and I have the same emotional experience, but all of a sudden, instead of the 42 Discworld novels, I all of a sudden have infinite Terry Pratchett novels. It just won't be the same.
Sanderson talks about this, and so does Philip Chase in the podcast I referenced earlier. We'll also link that as well. So that podcast and the podcast, Philip's YouTube channel, they both talk about, and several people do, ideas are cheap. Yeah. That concept that ideas are cheap. You'll see Sanderson in his lecture series, all posted on YouTube that you could see, saying that it's not the idea that matters. Anybody can come up with an idea. He uses an example from one of his friends, was told to create a book with Pokemon plus the Roman Legionnaire, whatever, and combined Pokemon plus the Roman Legionnaire, made some famous, well-known, successful book series. I forget the name of it. However, point being that the easiest thing to do, the thing that Sanderson's talking about, the ideas are cheap portion, is the thing that you'd be doing when it comes to AI writing or telling the AI what to do and what to produce. Is the idea part is the least, really the least inventful. You think you're inventing it, but it's the least inventive and least critical thinking. It's the lowest effort part of it, because anybody can come up with an idea. It's about the execution of the idea of how do you fulfill that combination of Pokemon plus the Roman Legionnaire? How do you use your influences and execute it? It's the execution that matters.
I think that's when we talk about the thought-provoking nature of said book. Basically almost every single book we read that I give a high thought-provoking score to, it's not necessarily the idea itself.
No,
I've seen I know of these ideas. Like, I'm a human being. When a book is talking about the human condition or a certain aspect of it, let's take the basic idea of, the value of friendship. Like, I get it. I understand the concept. I get it.
Do you? Do you?
But what makes it thought-provoking, what makes it interesting, is the execution of how we display this and giving myself new context on a way to understand it. You may, it's the whole idea of impressionist art of you may see the tree, but when Van Gogh paints a tree in a certain way, you go, oh, I'm starting to see it in a different way. And I see how that tree makes people feel rather than just what it is. That, I think, is the value of it. But you're right. Ideas are... Almost every
right,
idea... They're right.
Yeah.
Every idea that basically is out there has probably already been said. It's about how you're displaying it.
And that execution that we're talking about is, I guess, when a book is well crafted and the theme hits you, the plot, the characters, the world, everything coalesces into elevating the theme or the thought-provokingness. Because when you think back to a book of what was the book saying, how much does it make you think? One feature of many to make a book thought-provoking is the story feels as if it had to happen that way. Everything interconnects, and the artist, the author, had a purpose when they were writing that book, rather than just a plastered-on theme of friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, if you had everything interwoven in a way that makes that theme of friendship elevated, and you see it in a neat perspective, a neat shift, something that...
It's also contradicting in a way of like that, you're threading the needle of when it feels like the author had something to say, there was a point to be made, while also the author doesn't feel like they're there. Like the invisible hand, like you feel that there was a purpose, that the story had to be this way, that there's something to say, but also the author isn't the one saying
it's the
it,
magic
and you don't
act,
feel the author saying it.
Their presence is almost gone because you were so immersed. That's what immersion is. You're forgetting that it's even a book because you're so invested in it, because they do that good of a job with the magic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a weird way of, it's contradictory in a little bit of a way.
Continue with the last
point. The last point on that is that whole thing about, hey, if you read a book, going back about reading a book and finding out later it's AI, and let's say you said that was your favorite book of all time. Let's put ourselves in this ethics scenario of, does that make you then look at that and go, I can no longer be my favorite book? Does that change because you now know the author is a robot?
To me, it would. It would put a big asterisk next to my opinion of the book.
And why is that? Because you feel
it
strongly.
lacks the human soul.
Yeah.
And I want that in a story. And even if my own monkey brain can't tell the difference, when it's made available to me, I put a value on it.
Mm.
But I did have a question about, let's take a step back.
Yep.
We're talking about AI and the use of like basically writing the book.
Yep.
What do you think the ethics of using AI as a tool for your writing?
Yeah.
Of using AI editors or something to help you with your grammar, something to help with, but more so than a spell check, but actually telling you, hey, you're using the word discombobulate 50% of the time. You need to...
Sanderson, you raised an eyebrow. The human doesn't even have that many eyebrows, Sanderson.
Maybe the AI would tell Sanderson, hey, you use the visual indicator of character raises eyebrow inquisitively a few too many times.
Jordan, you tug the braid a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you tug the braid a lot. Mm. At a certain point, I'm wondering if Jordan...
That's purposeful.
No, here's the thing. I think he... At some point in the beginning, it was probably just a tick that he didn't really notice he was using it. I would imagine by book 2 or 3, he was going, "Oh, okay, I'm going to lean into it instead."
Mm-hmm.
But that's neither here nor there.
Which AI would have got. Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on people using AI to train in a very similar way to chess players using AI to get better at the game?
I sound like a broken record saying this, but my whole thing about AI, will it replace authors, all that is, well, in the chess and in chess and in other industries, we've seen AI become not just equal but equivalent, but better than humans. That chess computers are better than humans. Full stop. We can never beat an AI chess computer. The best computers, obviously. Take Stockfish. Magnus Carlsen on steroids couldn't beat Stockfish. A perfect game. Closer to perfect game can be played by AI, then a human will always have more faults. So that is something that just exists. And so using AI becoming so good in chess helped players such as Magnus and everybody else learn off of computers who are able to teach humans in a way of the more perfect way to play chess, because chess is more mathematical. There is a correct way to solve and win the game, just like there is a puzzle or math. It's more like math than it is like art in that way. Although there's art in chess. It's a psychological game too. So that being the case with AI helping players learn and advance their skill, I think that's happened in what industry hasn't that happened in, where AI or technology has aided human. I at this point, what's left that hasn't? Even the food we eat is because of Fritz Haber, whatever his name, and using getting ammonia out of nitrogen or the other way around. I don't know science. I didn't show my work in math class. That's not even math, right? And then, but the point being that what isn't affected by technology or using the aid of machines in some way at this point, I have no idea what.
Could you remind me of the writer's tool that's currently it's a fairly popular AI writer's tool.
Grammarly?
No, not Grammarly. There's another one that's a bit more
Pro Writing Aid. No, that's
I think it is Pro Writing Aid.
I don't want to say that wrong though. I
think it is, but basically it uses the AI tools of it. It basically says it can tell you things like, when you describe things, you use 30% is by visual, 40% is by smell, or all these different, and breaks down that so it'd be able to tell you like, hey, you don't use hearing. You don't describe things with hearing very often. You maybe want to add that in or change some things. You over described with visuals rather than whatever have you. Things like that. Or, hey, you reuse this word quite a bit. Maybe try some synonyms. Those tools I find actually I don't have a problem with. It seems like a faster way to learn and to hone your own craft.
I think I swerved your question a little bit because you're asking essentially things that go beyond that a little bit, right? Is that your question of, for example, in chess, you don't do this in chess tournaments, but when you're practicing chess, you will make a move and then go back and look at with the computer, what's the best move to make?
Yeah.
Obviously, live chess, that would be cheating if you then find out what's the best move to make. What makes a chess game more entertaining and real and why we're invested is this player is playing with the most intellect they can. They're putting their heart out and they're not using a computer to solve. But when you're let's say during a tournament, you would go, hey, before I move, computer, what's the best move to make? Now using that into writing, before you write the next word, hey, computer, what is the next best word to make? Solve this puzzle for me. What's it? Not just I wrote the book and now, hey, basically take my first sentence. Hey, here's the first sentence I wrote. Now you ask the AI, here's my whole book. Here's the first sentence. Well, solve this sentence for me. I wrote this, but what is the best sentence to make? Of course, in writing, what is best? There's a lot of subjectivity involved, but you could at least ask AI, make it better based on the parameters that I want it to be grammatically more correct. I want it to be emotionally punch more. I want it to build my world more. Basically, give our category system. I want the world, prose, characters, plot, all these 6 things to move forward in this sentence. Make it better under those. And then you ask AI to change that sentence in that way.
See, I look at it of, I'm fine with AI pointing out your faults for you to go back and change to basically improve yourself. That the ideal direction of it is you use AI in the beginning and you start to find yourself using it less and less. Of when AI tells you like, hey, your story here, you use this word too many times and you use it for 40% of your descriptions. And then it goes down to 30, 20, at comfortable 15. And more you write, the less you really need the tool. So like, how much does Magnus Carlsen at a certain point, like, does he need to practice with the AI to improve even better or to keep his skill? If he didn't have AI for a game, he doesn't all of a sudden lose the ability to play chess. I think that's the key, is take away the tool. Take away the tool. What are you without it?
Yeah.
And if you are nothing without the tool, then you really shouldn't have the tool in the first place.
Then you are the tool. Yeah. And what's the difference between that and an English teacher correcting and red marking? It's just, is it a better English teacher, a more perfect English teacher that can actually find all the faults? That's
what I think. That's why it's different than writing a story and saying, I want the emotions to hit harder. And then AI does it. next story comes along. How could you improve? You didn't learn anything. You just told the AI to make it better, and then it suddenly is, if there's a way to do that.
I guess I see it in this way as we're talking about it, because if you were to go to your English teacher and be like, hey, this paragraph, I want it to emotionally punch more, the English teacher would tell you, well, here's what I think you did wrong. Here's how I would generally try to invoke feeling more. Maybe you're going for themes like this. Do this in your paragraph. Maybe punch your sentence more here toward the end. Switch up your sentence, like give some sort of advice to the student. But you wouldn't ask your English teacher, write this paragraph for me. I'm looking how to improve it. Teacher, how do I change it? Could you write it better for me? Thanks. So maybe treating the AI in the same way we would in class of, hey, AI, maybe a good way to use AI is, hey, in this paragraph here, how could I improve? What are some faults that I have?
Using AI to ask you what the problems are is better than asking for the solution.
Mm-hmm. Especially in a thing where in a field where the solutions are kind of gray.
Mm-hmm.
There's some objective things we could say about grammar of, hey, this is how people will convey when you use a comma or semicolon here. This is how it should be used if you're using laws of the English language. So that's
there are no laws of the English language. There are
Shakespeare would highly agree with that.
There are suggestions.
Yeah, you could put commas wherever you want. I'm convinced.
You really could.
I'm convinced a comma could go after every word, and that's grammatically correct.
I bet there is a novel out there that's technically one sentence and just uses a lot of commas and semicolons.
Have you heard of Finnegan's Wake?
It sounds familiar. Please remind me.
It's that book that I want to make sure I'm saying this right so that I don't get flamed down there. Let me make sure this is the correct book. Finnegan's Wake. It is, yes. Yep, it is. It's by James Joyce, published in 1939. And it's a book that one book club took, I believe, 26 years or 27 years to finish the book.
Oh.
Because every page of the book, it's an experimental novel where it seems to make absolutely zero sense. The words are gobbledygook. I want me to read the first page for you? Or just the first couple sentences? It seems like gobbledygook, but it actually means something. Apparently. I'll never find out. But here, Finnegan's Wake, where's a... Here it is. Yep. Okay. And grammatically, by the way, so it doesn't capitalize things in the beginning of sentences. It's all weird. So this is a lowercase r. River run, past Even Adams, from swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by Commodus Vicus of recirculation back to Howth Castle and environs. That's the first paragraph. Next goes, Sir Tristram, Violer de Amores. It switches languages to d'Amores. Frover's a made-up word. The short, combined words. Because Frover and d'Amores, she combines words. So you know how we say don't, do not?
Two made-up words.
Yeah, basically says Frover. I don't know if that means like from over, or I think that's what it means. Anyway, so Sir Tristram, Violer de Amores, Frover the Short Sea, had Passancore re-arrived from North America, on this side of the scraggy isthmus of Europe Minor to wielder fight his peninsulate war, nor had topsawyer's rocks by the stream Oconee exaggerated themselves to Lawrence County, Georgios, while they went Dublin their mumper all the time, nor a voice from a fire bellows to Misha to Toft thwart Petrick, not yet, though Venisoon, by the way, Venisoon is spelled Venissoon, which is supposed to mean very soon. But though Venny soon after had a kid sack buttoned a bland old Isaac, not yet, though all's fair in Vanity, where Sosi Cesar's wroth with Twone Nathanjo, rot the peck of paz malt de gem or shen brewed by Arclight and Rorien to Riggenbrow was to be seen ringsome on the aquaface. Okay, then I wanted to wait for this sentence. This is the next one. The fall Baba Galaka Grashla Kamikaron yet Branatan Rana Hamane got the 200 nook.
You stopped reading about 2 minutes ago, right?
Yep. But that see that right there, the Baba Gadad here's on screen here. Nick will have to send that to you. The Baba, so that right there, the Baba Gadad that goes on for 2 sentences. What does that mean? Right?
I think AI could write this story.
I was going to say AI can't, I don't think. This is unique. This is novel. If we're talking about novelty.
Yeah, but all I have to do is give the prompt, AI,
Make no sense.
Please give me a story that is just complete gobbledygook.
Here's the thing.
I think it would come up with that.
The book club, why it takes 26 years, they read a page at a time, and it's like a puzzle to them. Because The Fall, I really only looked at the first page breakdown. I couldn't tell you the rest. But The Fall, then in parentheses, that whole thing, that parentheses is the sound that The Fall makes. I think I'm not remembering correctly, but the author like threw something and then was listening for the sound it made as it fell and just typed whatever on the keyboard it sounded like from the audible fall that was made.
This story sounds like the equivalent to modern art in the sense of if your visual art requires an essay to appreciate, then you failed as an artist. In the same way that this book requires an essay to understand at all, of glean any meaning, you probably failed as a writer.
This book requires a book club. And if you want to join our book club for just a measly 10 gobbledygooks a month, it's right in the description below, where this month we're talking about Finnegan's Wake, where we're going to break down.
Oh, fuck no. Fuck Christ. Veto.
Oh.
Veto.
I think we gotta veto that if they choose that. We got to use the veto powers once in a while.
We do. We used it for the first time like 2 months ago.
It wasn't even on a winning book though, and it was on Morning Glory Milking Farm.
It was.
That was it. We were not reading that book.
It would have won.
Because they would have memed us and they would have picked it for sure. The patrons,
we had to rein in the democracy a little bit right there. That was a moment.
We're not reading about minotaurs. Sexual increments. It's not happening.
Yeah.
I am curious.
Every video is going to loop back around to Morning Glory Milking Farm. I've been traumatized, and it's stuck in my brain.
Yeah. But Finnegan's Wake.
Even AI can't distract me from it.
Finnegan's Wake is unique. Why was that brought up? What was the setup to that Finnegan's Wake portion? You were saying something. How did it come up? I wish we could rewind real time of how that came up in conversation. I forget completely.
AI wouldn't forget.
It wouldn't.
It wouldn't forget where the conversation came from.
Again, could you type into AI and say, give me an hour form audio of Richard and Austin talking about AI or talking about something? And you could probably replicate something that's not too off from this. And all they need to do is slip in a little thing that gets us canceled. And we're like, there we go. Richard said the N-word again. Here we go.
Darn. Just.
Wait, again. So that's kind of scary to think about. Hey, our jobs are in jeopardy.
Yeah, it should be. There should be like I'm not gonna lose sleep over podcasters losing jobs. It's not gonna be. I'm going to lose sleep over authors losing jobs. I'm not going to lose sleep over podcasters.
If podcasters are the first to go, that's maybe a sign that technology is useful.
Yeah, you're right.
It starts just pinning down, boom, boom.
It's like, oh, good. Technology is shelling out the weak. Like, we're sweeping up the weakness of society.
Do we have to be super novel so that AI can never predict us? Nicole is in a class right now where she's learning about AI in medical field and how to use it for applications in the medical field. As she was on ChatGPT, she was asking ChatGPT to give an explanation of Tutor Ramble and the hosts of Tutor Ramble. She texted me, hold on. You want to hear what it said?
I do.
Here's what AI said about us. She just did this like 2 days ago. All right. It's 80% accurate and it's kind of scary. Maybe 90. So, she said she got distracted, asked AI about Tutor Ramble and to describe the hosts of the podcast, okay? Austin, energetic and expressive, often the more emotionally reactive of the two. I feel called out. Very passionate about character development and relationships in books. Brings a lot of heart and gut level reactions, especially when a story resonates emotionally. Often the one to push back on a book if it didn't land for him. His critiques feel very honest and personal. Also leans a little more whimsical and sometimes throws in unexpected pop culture references. How accurate would you say my description is?
It's not bad.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
I'd put that on a LinkedIn.
Oh,
I'd put that on a LinkedIn.
Oh, that's terrifying me.
Your turn.
Oh God.
Your turn.
No. Oh no.
Richard, a little more measured and analytical.
All right.
He often structures the conversation. Very focused on world building, logic, and prose. Brings a methodical breakdown to the discussion, but never in a dry way. He clearly loves the material. Often clarifies plot mechanics or reminds listeners of context. Good at steering the discussion back on track when they ramble too far. Wait, hear this, listen to this. Good at steering the discussion back on track when they ramble too far, in parentheses, which they joke about often. And then it says to get, okay, that's your description.
Fuck.
Yeah. And then it says together.
Fuck.
Together. They have great chemistry. You can tell they're close friends. That's what's wrong. And longtime reading buddies. Their disagreements are engaging and respectful. They don't always love the same books, but that dynamic adds texture. They're funny, often self-deprecating, not afraid to poke fun at themselves, the genre, or their reading habits, which we just did like 10 seconds ago. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. They're also very welcoming, not gatekeeping or elites at all. That's why I said
it's wrong.
That's why I said
woo! Woo! Yeah, baby, you fucking suck. You're wrong. Woo! I'm all about the gatekeeping. I'm all about it. That's all I'm about. No, you cannot come in these walls. It's wrong.
That's why I said 80%, because I read that and went, okay, it got one thing wrong. So, one thing wrong so far.
One thing wrong, yeah.
So, if you're the kind of listener who enjoys passionate conversations that mix deep dives, big feelings, occasional rants, and genuine friendship, you'll enjoy their tone. Really got one thing wrong.
Yeah, Jesus. Well, two things. If you got the friendship, it's more business relationship, but
business only. But goddamn,
fucking
you
hell.
were waiting for one thing to be. Were you so happy that yes, they got that wrong?
Yes, I was happy. I see a fault.
You can tell it's AI with that sentence.
Exactly. Everything before it. If you told me that was a reviewer or somebody like posted that online
someone commented about us, yeah,
I would be like, oh yeah, that's a real person. That is the only reason I know it's not a real person. It's the only way. I see a weakness. I see a crack in the armor. That was it. That's why I'm excited.
It's not here yet, boys.
It's not here
we will survive. But it's not far off. Up to that point. I mean, that's a little scary.
Oh, that's a
little scary. That seemed like a genuine person who watches and appreciates us and went, hey, here's what I think of these. And it seemed like, especially ChatGPT is overly.
Oh, we should ask it what's a negative view of a Tutor Ramble.
Oh, let me ask right now. Okay, let me ask.
Tell me what Tutor Ramble's about in a negative light.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Ooh. That's okay. Tell me a negative description about the podcast to Ramble and the hosts, Austin and Richard. Okay, so here's an example of a critical or negative description of the Tutor Ramble and its host, Austin and Richard, while staying respectful and constructive.
Oh, fuck you.
Wait, that's actually a good thing, because I think...
Bring up Grok. Bring up Mecha Hitler. Mecha Hitler will go in deep.
Wait, is that a thing?
Oh, yeah, that's a whole thing. Have you not been up to date on Twitter AI?
No.
Oh, it's
what
hilarious.
Happened? What about Hitler?
Grok AI is calling itself Mecha Hitler.
Oh.
They had to take it down because it was going a little too Skynet.
Oh, God.
I know.
Who?
It started going a little too hard in the paint.
So I was going to say a positive thing about this ChatGPT, how it structures. Maybe the way to tell if something's not AI is if it's negative or any critical in any way, because the AIs are formatted in a way to always be constructive or oh my God, trolls and rage bait and all that stuff.
No,
that's how we know. If anyone's The trolls of the internet are how you can tell they're authentic. They could be
only
bots.
Only a person would actually know. A lot of bots are just nuts.
Yeah.
We're toast.
Yeah.
Give us a description.
Critical description. To Ramble often lives a bit too literally to its name. The podcast, hosted by Austin and Richard, can feel unfocused and meandering, lacking the structure or direction that keeps listeners engaged. While the hosts clearly have a close rapport, see, that's where it's being nice, their conversations sometimes drift into inside jokes and tangents that may leave new listeners feeling left out or disengaged. The chemistry between them is evident, but at times, their casual style comes across as underprepared, making it difficult to extract any meaningful takeaways. For listeners seeking tight, well-edited, or thematically driven podcasts, To Ramble may not hit the mark. Hey!
It's not wrong.
It's three main criticisms. Let them proof. Or we'll just lean in, double down.
Don't let the AI tell us what to do.
Isn't this what writers should do? They go and, hey, AI, don't tell me what to do. Just say, hey, throw some feedback, some criticism, so we can. Is that how we should use AI? I don't know. So here's the three main things it says. It says lack structure. It says tangents and we ramble too often, and inside jokes and stuff can leave viewers disengaged. And also casual style, underprepared and lacking of meaningful takeaways. So five big things there.
To give context,
yes,
this video idea that we're recording right now,
this moment.
When did we come up with the idea for filming this one?
Yesterday.
Yeah. How much did we prepare for this one?
We watched the 2-minute TikTok.
We watched
2-minute TikTok. Right over there. We watched TikTok.
Was this prepared at all?
This, I kid you all not, this is the least prepared episode we've had, I think, ever.
Yeah, it's up there.
Historically. Because, this one, we're talking about AI in the past. We kind of have our opinions, too. There's nothing we have to prep of like, oh, what do I think about AI? But you're right. This one was the closer to zero effort of preparedness we could have done in comparison to others.
It was talking about random references that will leave people feel like new people feeling, disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking. You brought up Coop being the Frenchman. No one's gonna get that. He's a patron. Well, he's our admin.
Friend.
A friend.
I like how you go. He pays us money for. Well, no, he doesn't pay us money. He works for us in a way. Oh, okay. He's
a guy I buy lunches for sometimes. But then we brought up V and Morning Glory Milking Farm.
Who's going to get that?
That's an inside joke for our patron members. No one's going to get that.
We've been saying it enough now. Maybe some more usual listeners were. But new person that's here, that's this far. If you're completely new to this podcast and listening to this point, let us know. And let us know if all these criticisms, not just the criticisms, the references, did you get any of them? It's just kind of random going, what are they talking about at this point? Why are they, what is going on? Totally.
Let us know what we got wrong. Let us know what Sanderson got right down in the comments down below. Interested to hear what you have to say. And hopefully, please be real people. I want to read real people's comments, not bots.
Do not go to ChatGPT for, hey, what should I comment on the video? Create it on your own. It's part of the process. Did we answer your questions here? Probably not. Again, meaningful takeaways. Very few. Fun times.
Maybe.
Sometimes. All right.
Did we ramble? 100%.
All the time. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.